back to Leading Entrepreneurs of the World, LEW 2022. We're now joined by Malachi Salcido. He is the CEO of Salcido Enterprises, and he's going to talk to us today. His topic is Plain Speak, a cryptocurrency base case and trends overview in language you can actually understand. It's a fascinating topic, one that's in the news a lot. So we certainly look forward to Malachi, your presentation here this morning. Let me hand it off to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you for the introduction. Cryptocurrency in half an hour is like trying to pour a gallon of information in a shot glass of space and not spill anything. So my goal in this half hour is to share a little bit about my background, my perspective as being in the space, not just talking about the space, and highlight where I think it's going. I pride myself on using layman's terms, not techno speak, and mostly that's because I don't know how to speak techno speak. So that helps a lot, but let's dive in. I am in Central Washington State, which just happens to be one of the cryptocurrency epicenters in the Western world. How did that happen? Well, my background is actually not in technology. It's in contracting and development. It's in finance and accounting. And as I tell the story, I did not go find crypto. Crypto came and found me. In 2012, 2013, when most of the world had no idea what Bitcoin even was, and before the term blockchain was even coined, early tech adopters came to our region primarily because of the low-cost hydropower. And they were looking for space to develop cryptocurrency data centers. So I've been in contracting for over 20 years, contracting and development in Washington State, and we are very used to new and emerging technology, lab environments, data center space developments. And we often don't really understand exactly what the end use is. We just know the specs and parameters of what we're designing to. We design a solution and we figure out how much it's going to take, how much it's going to cost, and how long it's going to take. All development boils down to those two variables, and work with the client to design a solution. So in 2013, we started doing pre-designs for this new kind of server that was doing something I didn't understand and at a significantly higher density. So our engineers started designing space, locating potential sites for development, and we would do the pre-design process for these potential clients, and then they would leave. They weren't particularly sophisticated in anything other than emerging tech. And what happened was, as we're doing pre-design, I got curious. I am a contractor. I also have backgrounds in accounting and finance. I'm actually licensed as a CPA and practiced accounting with a large firm for a few years. And so I'm an entrepreneur, a contractor, and an accountant, all jammed into the same body, which is a pretty frustrating experience. But as I learned more about crypto, you can hear my background, the infrastructure. I recognized, okay, these people don't understand how hard it is to secure power at scale, distribute it, and manage it in a high dense environment. That's data space application. Accountant. This tech, as I was learning about it, and this is before there was anything in the news, the only place I could learn about crypto was through online chat forums. So bitcointalk.org was the online chat forum where I would go and just try to understand what in the world does this technology propose to do. Entrepreneur, I became fascinated by the business case that was being presented. So the original white paper for Bitcoin, written by an anonymous person or persons called Satoshi Nakamoto, that white paper was called a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And the accountant finance person in me became fascinated with what the tech proposed to do. All technology that wants to make a market has to solve for the same essential problem. If tech is going to make a market and take market share / make market share, it has to do three things. It has to be faster, cheaper, and more secure, and it has to eliminate a middleman. Technology that enables direct peer-to-peer exchange of data that is faster, cheaper, and more secure, that technology will make a market. And I was looking at this Bitcoin tech, and now we know blockchain is the more adopted word that was used, but it all started with Bitcoin. And what I saw was, I saw a technology that solved for a faster way to exchange value than current financial intermediary systems. So banking, credit card processing, brokerages, a peer-to-peer exchange of value where the intermediary is replaced by encrypted code. So two people that don't know each other, don't trust each other, can exchange value, and the code provides the security and facilitates the transaction in place of a financial intermediary like a bank. That fascinated me. The other aspects of the technology that fascinated me was the fact that crypto keeps track of all of its activity. It's open source, and you can see all transactions for all time, and it's open source. So what happened was this technology was presenting a disruptive attack on traditional finance systems. That blew my mind. A replacement for financial intermediaries and cheaper. Financial facilitated transactions can cost us anywhere from 1% to 2-3%. You think brokerages, 4 or 5% for credit cards with higher fees. Think like American Express. These transactions were happening for 1,000th of a percent or 1/10,000th of 1% transaction fees, or even lower. And I came to the conclusion as we did these pre-design engagements for potential clients, and they just took too long and cost too much. The clients that came to me thought that their technology know-how of how crypto worked was the secret sauce. And as I did pre-designs for them on what it takes to actually build out and run the infrastructure, I came to the conclusion that their tech know-how wasn't the secret sauce. Finding power at scale, building it out, and managing it correctly with this new type of server technology, that was actually the critical sauce. That was the secret sauce. And the entrepreneur in me took over, and I got fascinated enough with the technology and its proposition that I came to the conclusion one of two things was going to happen. This tech would either be failed, have fatal flaw. It would be like beta. It would be like VHS. It would just not actually make a market. Or if it did make a market, it was going to disrupt traditional financial services, exchange of value and store of value around the world. And it was on that premise that I decided our contracting and development company was going to start a new company. This was almost 10 years ago. Start a new company and start building out space and running servers. From then till now, boy, have we learned a lot. I've been in the space for almost 10 years, and we call them 10 Bitcoin years. So I am considered an early adopter. 2013 was very early days for crypto. And what has happened is, one, we've survived. That business venture has not only survived and grown, but has been successful, which I'm very grateful for. I don't have any selfish or self-centered pride in that. I'm mostly just grateful. We have not figured out completely at the tech, but I can tell you what has worked is we've operated the company on principles and fundamentals. So as a technology early adopter, I'm a non-typical participant because I have a non-technical background. Most early adopters in the space, most people you would hear talking as an expert, quote unquote, on crypto, actually have a tech background. I have an implementation background. I build it and I operate it and I manage it. So where is the technology now? Where is it going? Financial services is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So if you listen to crypto conversations, you'll find that there's an argument about whether it's a store of value or an exchange of value. If you're old enough to remember the beginning of the internet adoption, so late 90s, pets.com, AOL, AOL was communication. If you had an email account, you had an AOL account. And there was the first dot-com bubble was building up pressure. There were companies that were offering services. There was this ability to email grandma. And then there's a larger question that it was really hot and fascinating tech and had lots of attention, and people were asking themselves, the public was saying, this is really cool, but what in the world will it actually be useful for? And the first dot-com bubble was full of companies that were saying, including, Amazon, frankly, that were saying, hey, one day we're going to exchange, we're going to buy and sell and conduct communication and transactions on the internet. It's going to be this huge market. People are like, no way that we're going to be buying and selling things direct online. Now we accept that that is actually what internet became and is continuing to become. There are the stages of technology adoption that I call them, and internet's great because most of us have lived through a portion or all of the internet adoption. Technology goes from, I don't know what it is or how it works, and I'm scared of it. I don't know how it works, and there are some people trying it. I don't know how it works, and I'm trying it. I don't know how it works, and I use it every day without thinking about it. So we see that with past technologies. Internet's a great example. Another example for the slightly younger crowd would be digital music file storage and usage. So there was a time, if you'd have told me when I'm walking into Tower Records to get the latest CD that someday it's all going to be digital content and I won't buy albums at Tower Records anymore, I would have been like, no way, I can't even fathom that. Early adoption of the digital music file space. It's a usual tech business case. The earliest technology adoption, usually the earliest tech adopters are illegal operators. So if you think of Napster and Pirates Bay, pirating digital music content and allowing it to be downloaded, those are some of the earliest adoptions of digital music file space. The fully matured version of that is today. I don't buy albums anymore. I buy access to content. So I have my Spotify account, I have my Pandora account. I don't buy albums anymore. I pay for a service to access digital files, and I pick what genre I want to listen to or what album I'm in the mood for, and I play it. It's a fee for service, and it's entirely disrupted what was the music industry we knew. This is the tech adopt cycle. Cell phones is another example that's been a much longer, obviously older process, but I communicate and exchange information primarily with my smartphone. And 20, 25 years ago, That sounded like something literally from Star Trek. And today I do it and I don't think about it. And we're most of us are in the same boat. Do I understand how 5G works? No. Do I actually understand how fiber works? Internet? No. Do I actually understand how digital music file works? I don't. I just use it. So when you look at emerging technologies, what I do is I try to focus on the fundamentals, principles and fundamentals of the tech. What is it aiming to accomplish? And what's happened with crypto is it's in the adoption process. So from what in 2013 was a very high risk move to today, you have about 8% of the planet has adopted the technology in one form or another. And crypto is different. Fundamentals and principles, it's different. What do I mean by that? Well, larger operators, larger companies are always interested in emerging technology right up until the point where it can cut their head off. And then there's a lot of pushback. Let me give you a couple examples. Warren Buffett of Berkshire Hathaway is a prime example. He is very anti-crypto. If you've listened to him or his sidekick, Charlie Munger, talk about crypto, they're very anti-crypto. It's rat poison squared, which is a fascinatingly non-technical description from two very smart individuals. Well, why are they against crypto? Well, one is probably they don't understand it maybe, but also follow their holdings. So Berkshire Hathaway, 41% of their portfolio is Apple. If you read current news, Apple's next big push is into financial services. That's how they plan to grow. Berkshire Hathaway's 2 and 3 are Bank of America and American Express. So their top 3 holdings are all in the financial services market. Well, what's the problem with crypto? Well, crypto is a opt-in non-sovereign currency exchange of value option at a fraction of the cost. Well, financial services banks do lots of things. Yes, but it all boils down to fees. They make their money, their profit margin is derived from processing fees, transaction fees. If I have a peer-to-peer option to exchange value that doesn't require banking, then it doesn't require processing fees. Now, it doesn't mean that crypto, I'm not an ideologue, I'm practical. Crypto's not going to replace the dollar. It's another box of cereal on the cereal box shelf. But what you have to recognize is that the world doesn't really have options when it comes to their currency. So in the United States, we have the dollar, and we're blessed. It's a relatively stable currency, but there's a lot of places in the world where they are unbanked or unfairly banked. And cryptocurrency is being adopted much more quickly in places like Kenya or the Ukraine. You can see a recent CNBC televised live event where they took crypto in New York, sent it to Kiev in the middle of a bombing, and the person converted that crypto into local currency to buy necessary goods, and they did it in 3 minutes. When SWIFT is shut down, banking transfers are not capable, crypto took a 3-minute timeline to transition into a war zone. There are a lot of use cases where crypto is getting adopted, where people have runaway inflation, they have unbanked or unfairly banked financial institutions that they have to operate under. And what we're seeing here in the United States is primarily in the last 2 years, especially, institutional adoption, or what I call real money, that is getting into the space and is actually creating a scenario where you have, think about this, a financial market or a new digital asset class that 4 years ago was worth about 40 billion total value is now worth between 1 and 2 trillion, so about 1.3 trillion currently. And that doesn't include the slew of publicly traded companies with a valuation combined in the hundreds of billions. That's a massive, in 3.5 years, that is a massive growth curve. And what's going to happen is crypto as an option for exchange of value and store of value is going to continue to make a market and eat away at some of those traditional financial services that we've all been using for literally hundreds of years. So Glenn, I'd love to stop there and hear some of your thoughts or questions.
Sure. Thank you, Malachi. Great conversation. Thanks, and thanks for, I mean, all very practical examples. And as a fellow CPA, thanks for bringing it down to on the accounting side as well. And you know, it's interesting, that whole technological adoption journey. The common phrase that I kept hearing you say was, "I don't know how it works," but you could argue that's also a faith-based journey sometimes too. I don't know how this works, but I believe, right? It's kind of the same type of journey. I tell you, as an somewhat old-fashioned guy, I do miss the Tower Record Store that used to be in Times Square.
Me too. I'm
Here
with
in
you.
New York, multi-levels. You went in and you did all sorts of stuff. Hey, we got a comment actually from our good friend Dr. Omar from the Middle East. Let me pull up his chat here. He says, "Can you comment on CBDCs? Will these crowd out private coins?" I don't know if you have a view on that, Malachi, or not. Thank you, Dr. Omar.
Yeah, excellent. So CBDCs are central bank digital currencies. Have you ever heard this saying, copying someone is the highest form of flattery, right? Central banks are going to get into the digital currency space. Why? It's faster, cheaper, and more secure. They're not looking to eliminate themselves. They're looking to utilize the technology. China is in the process of, they're ahead of us. So Asia in general is ahead of us with tech adoption, universally. So if you go to China, there are regions of China where they are trying out digital renminbi. The United States, the Fed Reserve has talked about, has work groups, is designing a digital US dollar. So central bank digital currencies, sovereign currencies going digital won't displace private currencies. And the reason for that is still, if a I'm sure that everybody that's listening understands this, but a digital US dollar is still a US dollar. It still functions the same way, and it's still inflationary, frankly. It's just a much more efficient way of providing liquid and stability to the financial system. What happens is, this is what I predict, people are going to get more used to digital currency in general. And it's the first consumer option for what currency I want to use, I think, in history. So I've never had a choice whether or not to use USD, and I've never thought about it. But I do now. As an early adopter, it clicks more clearly to me. I hold some of my wealth in Bitcoin, and I hold some of it in USD or investments. I've never had that option to exchange value. And I can tell you, early on when we were purchasing large-scale server purchases 5, 6, 7 years ago, China Direct, because the major manufacturers are primarily in China, we would send them Bitcoin. And it would take 3 or 4 minutes to proof the transaction. A SWIFT transaction, traditional banking, took 2 or 3 business days. Yeah. The Chinese government shut it down. They told us and the manufacturers, you can no longer exchange value in crypto. You must wire USD. So we went from sending large payments in a couple minutes securely to going through SWIFT banking, which took 2 or 3 days. So what's going to happen is digital currency, central banks, sovereign countries, it will make it faster, cheaper, and more secure, but it won't displace the value of anti-inflationary, and I hold and control my wealth in my own hands versus I hold a note, a digital note payable based on the good faith and credit of the United States government. It has all the same attributes, whether it's in physical form or digital form.
It's not much, coming out of the New York Stock Exchange, when you move from stock certificates to direct registers, you could argue that was kind of a similar type of step, though. But yeah, what a great point that you actually have a choice, right? Otherwise, it's like, well, sorry, you have to use the pound because this is your only choice as it goes. But you can see why Warren and Charlie get nervous if you're going to cut out, if the encryption is going to cut out the intermediary, Although you look at folks like those significant types of companies, you would think that they're going to they're going to want to play along too. They're going to jump in and somehow probably play a role in one form or the other as you move forward. You would think.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's the tech adopt process. The tech adopt process from a business standpoint is if your tech is threatening my model. I attack it, I try to buy it out, and one of the last stages is I adopt it and utilize it, right? Yep. But it's one of the last ones. So traditional financial services and central bank, they're on their way to adopting. Even JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon is vocally pretty anti-Bitcoin, but JP Morgan offers crypto custodial and investment services for their clients. At the end of the day, the consumer will tell even financial services what they want, and those financial services will respond. JP Morgan is a great case in
Oh
point.
yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Malachi, thanks for bringing it, from a plain speak standpoint. Thanks for your presentation today. Outstanding conversation. Really appreciate it. Great life experiences here, and great connectivity on our side. So thanks for joining Leading Entrepreneurs of the World today. Malachi Salcido, take good care of yourself.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks. Be well.